I will not talk about motor overall, but more in examples for the impact of digitalization, the advantages of the digitalization, the disadvantages of the digitalization, and maybe the non-future of digitalization in certain areas. And to just give a start, a private example about Internet of Things. I'm talking with my brother, who lives in the US, he's an IT guy, he loves all the IT stuff. So I wanted to send him a photo of my grandson, of my new grandson, and he was calling to, honey, stop fooling around with the refrigerator. I'm trying to download a photo from Michael. What happened? His wife was working on a refrigerator, that refrigerator will order some new milk. And it took up so much that he couldn't download a photo at the same time. It's like, yesterday evening somebody said, in the very beginning of the internet, it was a question, either I telephone or I go on the internet. Not both, please. And this could happen with the washing machine. So maybe there is a border to where digitalization will go. I said 5 examples. So about effective handling of business. Peter Braumüller said something about that, indirectly, directly, or a lot already. Then about the cars, from driver assist to automated driving, when, what, how. Then Vehicle Connect, it's about the e-call system coming in Europe, but not only. This interface can be used to communicate with the car in very much detail. It's a question who owns the data and who owns the interface. About telematic tariffs, where it works and where it probably will never work. And then telematics and other big data versus especially data protection. I think we will see a necessary curbing of collecting data. That is probably the big issue. If in 3 years, in a conference like this, we will be talking of what data we really need, and that we should use less data and that we should do much less via the internet. I know it's almost like the other way around, but it's not a contradiction. Because if you talk about systems of repair and repair estimations, my God, without Audatex and companies like that, it's very inefficient. You need that. So it will depend more on the topic. I would not generalize it. So first, when I started, I said, okay, I will make an example of efficiency and one of services. And then I looked to find anything really services. The word is everywhere. Oh, we will have better services. But then I looked, what is new? Is there anything really available new? Honestly, I didn't have a single bit. So if maybe in the discussion somebody knows a service which is only available to the customer, I mean to the end customer, only available because we have now a digital world and because things have changed, please tell me. Maybe one little example I had, there is a German insurer called Kravak, which is specializing on trucks. They have an app of directing trucks to a free parking, which if you go on the German highway on the weekend is a real challenge, because you have hundreds and hundreds of trucks on each stop on the highway because they're not allowed to drive during the weekend. And it looks like a boot camp for gypsies sometimes when you're on a highway stop with your family. And it's, they have grills and parties and music, really fun. But I didn't find any other example. So, efficiency of handling the business. And here I think it is very, very important to get costs down. Peter Braumüller said already, it's a question of how much money goes back to the client. So if the client gives you €100, how much money goes really back into the system? If it's only €50, we're not good. We need to be much more efficient here. And I think there, digitalization can be of enormous help. That things, take a car accident and you have to go per hand and see what has been damaged, etc. Instead of maybe a logical photo shooting of that car and the computer then looks up what the parts cost and what the labor cost would be. There is an enormous efficiency gain. Fraud handling, you could look through 1,000 pages or you could use all kinds of mechanisms and logics to really get back to get on the ground. But when you look at efficiency, you also have to watch out. It's not always about percentage. If you look here, you can see there is a country sticking out very inefficient, right? Ukraine. 50% cost is higher, by the way. It's only a very positive estimation, probably more 60. No? Terrible, isn't it? No? They're the most efficient. Take it as percentage of premium and then take it in absolute terms. So any insurer, let's say from Western Europe, could you do a policy plus loss handling for 10 euro per year and probably not. So aren't they the most efficient? And look at US. No wonder direct insurers are so successful there. Because they're so dead ineffective. By the way, Britain, I don't have numbers for Britain because they only have comprehensive insurance. But it looks worse if it's done via an agency. That's why Direct Line and all these companies, Admiral, are so successful. By the way, that's also the reason why they're not so successful in Germany, because we are pretty efficient with around 50 euro. It doesn't look very good here, but that is because of the country selection. And the country that really sticks up in many aspects is Estonia. And we had some Estonian friends already here. Look at it. It's the most advanced system of IT I know in the world. They have everything online. And you can look in every street, every accident that was ever registered. You can look on the map with all the background. Data protection, I'm not so sure. So, efficient and effective handling. You can only do that if you find means to reduce time spent per policy. And to reduce time spent per policy means digitalization. And I think here, I also do not agree to many people saying, oh, the East or the CEE, SEE is underdeveloped and we are more developed in Western Europe. That's not true. On the contrary, sometimes they're so highly developed, but you have next to each other Stone Age, with a round stamp. So then 3 copies round stamp and wet signatures. And on the other side, the most advanced digitalization systems. They are next to each other. Whereas in Western Europe or North America, we're fighting with our legacy system, which you can't shut off. And everybody who tried, we just tried to introduce a new system. We didn't fail, but it was about 4 times more expensive than expected, and half as efficient as was expected. And we couldn't retire the legacy system because some things don't work. So it's not East versus West. Next area, from driver assistance to automated driving. What impact will it have? This is an excerpt out of a report you can get online from the California, it's not readable, I don't know what happened, from the California Authority for licensing of vehicles. And there you can see a table for each car, every mile it drove, and how often you had to intervene against the self-driving vehicle. And here you can see one example that's from GM, 10,000 miles driven with this car, and this is on what date and what time they had to intervene. Precautionary takeover to address controls. What happens most though is other road user behaving poorly. It's not the car, the automated driver, that is the problem. It is the non-automated drivers that is the problem. And many of the experts say, if we ever want automated driving, it can only work with like a big bang. You have no automated driving, and then you have everybody automated driving. Is that possible? I'm not sure. Maybe we have some IT in the future that could do that. I don't think so. I think we also have to see, we have the wrong picture for that. We always think it will be a nice shiny car like I have today, but no steering wheel, or the steering wheel moves by itself. So it looks the same. It's not necessary. The mobility system probably will be totally different. We may not imagine it yet. And I have a very nice old book. It's the Life magazine of the 1st January 1900. Yeah? And it shows on 30 pages how the world will be in the year 2000. They guessed that everybody will have a horseless carriage. And that's exactly what they showed for 2000. They showed horseless carriages. Because they couldn't imagine how a car could look. And of course, if you were an aviation nut like I am today, and you're at 1918, well, how would you think transportation in the air would go? By Zeppelin, of course. I mean, this is grand, and you have all the room, you have a huge, you could not imagine that a plane could be that big. Yeah, and look, all this room you need for the runways, 10 kilometers to get the plane fast enough that it takes off. But if somebody in 1918 said, I'm modern, I will do this, yeah, and has maybe a shipping line and sells it and buys a Zeppelin company, boy, he would have lost money. So, this is strange. It's sobering. What is not understandable is that as of 1st April, you can license a car without a steering wheel in California. And they will have the first one. But it will be more a communication system, like the taxis in Las Vegas. That you have on 3-4 main streets, cabins that electronically communicate, lock on, and they have on streets, if you really are. I like this curve, I use it very often, the Gartner hype cycle. The question is where we are at the moment on digitalization. And if this is the normal level, I have the feeling we are sometimes already falling behind. We're sometimes already here. We're back. It will never work. That is dangerous. If you think just because it didn't work so far, it will not work, it's wrong. It's very, very dangerous. I think we have to be really on our tippy toes year after year, and this is why you need motor conferences all the time. Automated driving, there is and again it's hard to back. Something is with the computer, because half of the things cannot be read. We read it already with Peter. Is there anything we can do technically? Guys back there, can we do anything technically that you can read things better? Okay, well, let's see. There is a study from the GDV of September 2017 on automated driving. It's very detailed. It's going into very many small aspects. Up to the year 2035. They have 4 systems of assist and 2 systems of of automated driving. So it's the emergency braking system, it's the automated parking assistance, it is the manager that keeps you in lane, it is the manager that allows you to change lanes. Yeah? And the automated system is the highway pilot, and then probably taking longer would be the city pilot, which means really the automated driving side of things. And for trucks you have some more. And then they checked how long will it take until it penetrates. And they used a little bit like ESP and airbags and things like that as a penetration scenario, and had 2 different, fast, the blue one, and a slow, the red one, for penetration, until those systems come into place. And then they also checked things become more expensive, because if you hit a bumper today, you also hit some sensors. So they estimated how much the repair costs will go up for those cars that have those mechanisms inside, which is not a lot. It's about 8% in 18 years. This is okay. And this is the result first for liability. First of all, this is not a revolution. This is evolution. And the curve of needed premium per vehicle in Germany has been steeply going down like that for already 30 years because of technical progress like better brakes, like seat belts, etc. So there is a lot of things that happens. And also what is not surprising, that the parking assistant, for this is liability, and the emergency braking system are by far the most effective and the most efficient ones to reduce the loss costs, the premium needed to cover losses. This is MTPL, This is the scenario fast and slow, and this is the curve for Casco. It's even less, and it's almost only parking. And anybody who has ever looked at the numerics of loss frequencies in Casco, it is almost exclusively this little dents here. That's what makes Casco, which is very interesting if you do tariffs. That's what we call small optical damages. You can really get the frequency down decisively. We have seen that in Russia, in Moscow, without a deductible of 500 euro, there was a frequency of 110%, meaning 1.1 accidents per year in car. And after a deductible of 500 euro, the frequency was down to 20%. Because small losses, which cost 2,000 euro to repair, were not repaired. So, you can see, avoiding the small losses, that is the big story. And for liability, it was also the emergency braking. Because, let's say, if you overlook a pedestrian or you overlook that on a highway, everybody's braking, that is helping. What is interesting, in about 50% of the trucks, you have this today. And in 80% of the cases, it's shut off. Why? Because this system does not allow to really go so close. Right? It stays with the legal limits of how close it goes. And if a truck goes by legal distance, it's the same like a car driver, you will never get anywhere because always somebody gets in front of you. You have to stop driving. This is, it is the rules that do not allow the system to work. The estimations, I found that very interesting. The estimation is over 800 less dead on the streets of Europe if the trucks would be allowed to put that system on and have a close, and if they have the system on, to drive a little bit closer. Because the reaction time is faster on the computer. Okay, so overall, evolution, not revolution. And also, even if it's semi-automatic city driving, that will take so long until it's in the system that on our normal cars, we probably will all be retired until this is really a huge impact. Ah, yeah, this is, you can't read it, so sorry about that. Technicians back there, can you do anything about it? Hallo, Techniker, können Sie irgendwas machen, dass man es besser lesen kann? Me? Okay. Okay, then most of the slides, sorry about that, you have to wait until you get it. This is on one hand, the methodology. For this GDV study, it is in the internet. 18 pages, very dense, very well written, methodology, all the details, very, very good. So just look it up, GDV, automatisiertes Fahren, automated driving. Even sometimes in English it gets it to you, and you will find the brochure. Download a PDF. Vehicle Connect. Who owns the data? Now we have now the e-call system coming in mandatory. And where do the data go? Basically, to the manufacturer. So more or less, the manufacturers start to get a monopoly with the car. They communicate with the car constantly. So if something is wrong, hello, dear customer or dear Mercedes driver, please come into the next Mercedes station. You have a small problem, your headlight on the right is broken, or whatever it is. Or please check this in this liquid, etc. The ones who will suffer and be extinct will be independent repair shops. So the Association of Independent Repair Shops was the first one to really cry. Another one who should be crying is insurance industry. And I was thought remarkable inactivity of it. And then I was very happy. I read there is a forum. It's done by Insurance Europe, and you can find it under hashtag data for drivers, and where it says, yes, I want to control my vehicle data, and you can vote for that. I said, great. So I went there, I put my vote there. I said, isn't that a great thing? What is a great thing? I asked motor people, motor insurance people. The thing, you know, you can vote. I don't know. Nobody cared. It's like, you know, you have cancer. So, well, cancer. Yeah? What are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to work. You see, doctor, no, why? Thank God, not so much insurance, but more those repair shops, they came to the European Parliament and said, okay, let's get something politically done. So the committee, we'll have to see how all this, the European Parliament's Committee on Transport and Tourism, TRAN, it doesn't sound that much, on the draft report on European strategy for cooperative intelligent transport system, sits, I love the EU with all this stuff. I may have almost any combination of letters already now occupied that. So they voted 39-1 that the data should not go to the manufacturers. So we will have soon, somewhere, neutral units that will run those databases. Who they are, I have no idea, but it should come. And I think it is the biggest threat to insurance industry that you could imagine. Because all of this communication with the manufacturers is going to be with them. They will control who gets what. They will occupy the interface to the client. And the client here is something, a mixture of the car and the person. Because somehow, of an auto insurance, the car is a client somehow. Telematics. Big hype. All the time.
Michael, excuse me, another 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm 5 minutes.
Okay.
For trucks, big benefits. If you look in Australia, they estimate that next year, 70% of the long-haul trucking system will be in platoons. So the trucks electronically link up, go 1 meter to each other, then go across the country. I mean, if you ever went through Australia, there is nothing there. There's not even roads. You just go through this baked sand, flat, and for days, more or less. So there, to platoon trucks is an economic necessity. And if you have a 3-truck platoon, the central truck saves about 50% of the energy. Because there's more or less no additional friction. It's just the friction from the wheels. There's no air friction additional for that one truck. And here, some factors, if you can't read it again, you save 94% of the maintenance cost if somebody has a telematic system and avoids that certain things are done by the driver. So trucks, it works. How many insurers do you think use this telematic data for truck calculations? I heard of 1 fleet. I heard never, ever, that any insurer did or was able to or intended to use it. Why? No idea. So, telematics, how you drive, I will retire the next slide, I promise for those who know the next slide. Who is the ideal driver? Okay, somebody who drives slow, drives very few miles, only in good weather, not during rush hour, not at positions which are really, really dangerous, right? Is that a good risk? Who says it's a bad risk? I say it's a bad risk. It's her. Huh? It's her. Uh-oh, yeah. And this is a statistic. What it shows. Young people need about double the premium, old people about 1.5 times the premium of normal, of a 60-year-old. And if you take it by kilometers, 90-year-old by kilometer, it's about 55 to 60 times higher in the US by studies than the driver being 60 years old. So a 90-year-old should cost 60 times as much per kilometer than the young person. So how you drive doesn't seem to be really sophisticated if you don't ask that dog. What is coming more and more is more a vehicle-linked time situation. And this is very simple to explain why. Because if you drive 1 minute on a clear highway, the risk of having an accident is very low, but you drive 2 kilometers. If you drive in the center of, let's say, Bucharest, for 1 kilometer in a rush hour, you have almost 3 accidents. And so where you drive and how long you drive, and you take about 15 minutes. Yeah? Where you drive, how long you drive is most important. And there is system factor. Again, you can't read it, so. The question now, legal situation. The new data protection law coming in May says, if you can avoid data, you have to avoid it. So even on telematic tariffs, if you can get a maximum rebate of €50, it is unreasonable that you have to deliver data 24 hours, 365 days a year, if you're driving, when you drive, and how you drive. Yeah? Then a small sample would be enough. So most likely, even that would not be enough. You can see what will be banned. Just a week ago, New York City banned occupation, residence, and education as criteria for calculation. So there's no more age there. That's not allowed. Gender, of course, is not allowed. Ethnics are not allowed. So at the end of the day, you end up at car-related factors. And this is, I think, the future. It will be car-related and very, very few subjective, because it's not necessary. It's not necessary to collect all these data. And what Peter Braumüller said, if somebody gets a rebate, somebody else has to pay for the delta. So if somebody gets it cheaper, somebody else, by the necessity, has to pay for it. So the spread of the tariff doesn't mean the money is gone. And there's a myth that just because of telematics, the whole world drives much more safe. Maybe a bit, but not. So, who owns the data? Who has a keen interest on that data? That was the question you already have. And then the big data, will that really be usable or used? And I give you another story. I yesterday evening told it already. They had a system. This is a legacy. I don't know, probably isn't true. They had a system. Of course, that was programmed, the algorithm that gender is gender neutral. But this system found out that persons who buy at Victoria's Secret are better risks. Huh? So, nobody's laughing. Yesterday everyone was laughing. And there is another one that's not a myth. When gender was forbidden, a Swedish insurer made a tariff criteria shoe size for motor insurance. Huh? So people who have bigger shoes pay more. Yeah? Because men drive, statistically, young men drive worse than young women. Yeah? So, but the computer is not allowed. So you may not ask the computer because he may find some other correlations. Oh, his name is Piotr. He drives worse than Peter. Of course, on average, statistically, probably. And we should look, this is a very nice, also only in German, sorry, about the different criteria, how people feel about them. Do they feel that as fair? So the lowest one is gender. People feel that is very unfair. What they find the most fair is depends on how many losses you have. So bonus-malus system. And so we can really see how certain criteria would be appealing. And I mean, on the long run, even European law should appear to what people think a little bit. And the last is this one. It's from Warren Buffett. He was asked, aren't you worried that you miss out technology? This was with his motor insurance. He said, nah, the early bird catches the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese. Meaning, a good copy is better than a bad invention. So if you are a very successful motor insurer, don't be the first inventor. Because maybe the invention costs a lot of money and is not profitable. Because anybody can copy it anyway. But, and this is what Richard said, be prepared. You know, you need to be able, when the first mouse gets hit, to stand next to the cheese and grab it. And don't be a mouse that, oh, now the cheese is, how did I get it? Or ran away because the other mouse got killed. By the way, this mouse, this is Google, Amazon mouse. So they have so much money that they can even risk of getting the cheese in a trap. Thanks.